Would you stay silent? Or let revenge speak for you? Welcome to the stories on Shattered Vengeance. Step into a world where love turns dangerous, revenge feels inevitable, and every story drags you deeper into the shadows of desire, betrayal, and the human heart. Let's begin today's story. The Wednesday night family dinner smelled like rosemary chicken and expensive wine. Mom's voice carried that particular brightness she gets when money's involved. The closing's in 9 days. We've accepted an all-cash offer. Dad raised his glass. To finally monetizing that asset. My sister Sarah scrolled through her phone. I already called dibs on Grandma's armoire. It's worth at least $8,000. My brother Michael nodded. Splitting 4 ways, that's $106,250 each. I'm putting mine toward the boat. I set down my fork carefully. What cabin sale? Mom laughed. Don't be difficult, honey. The family cabin. We've discussed this. We haven't discussed anything. The market's peak right now, Dad said, pulling up spreadsheets. Property values in that area increased 340% since 2019. We'd be idiots not to sell. Kept my voice level. Who's on the deed? It's family property, Mom said, that edge creeping in. Stop being selfish about this. Sarah looked up. God, Emma, you're so dramatic. It's not like you even use it. I used it every month. Solo writing retreats. The place where I'd finish 2 novels. But they didn't know that because they never asked about my life. I'll need to see the paperwork, I said. Dad slid a folder across the table. Purchase agreement. Buyer's pre-approval letter. Inspection waiver. Timeline with closing date circled in red. Everything looked official. Except one thing. Where's the deed? I asked. The deed. Mom waved her hand dismissively. That's at the cabin. Old documents, you know how it is. I did know how it was. The deed was in my safe deposit box. Had been since Grandma died 4 years ago and left the cabin to me. Only me. With explicit instructions in her will. To my granddaughter Emma, who understands what silence sounds like. They'd never asked to see the will. Just assumed. The movers come Thursday at 8 a.m., Mom continued. They'll pack everything, clean it out. The staging company arrives Friday. Who hired movers without ownership verification? I asked. We own it, Sarah snapped. God, you're exhausting. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Chin? This is Darlene from Rocky Mountain Movers. We have a problem with Thursday's job. I stepped into the hallway. What kind of problem? Our insurance requires proof of ownership before we move items from any property valued over $200,000. It's liability protection. Your mother provided the purchase agreement, but we need the actual deed. I see. She's insisting we proceed without it, but our policy is absolute. We've had too many situations where family members dispute ownership after the fact. Can you provide the deed by tomorrow? I could feel my heart rate slow down. That odd calm that comes when chaos crystallizes into clarity. I can do better than that. I'll send you a certified copy within the hour. The deed lists one owner, Emma Chin. Just me. Silence on the line. Then, your mother told us this was jointly owned family property. She told you wrong. Miss Chin, I need to inform you that we have a signed contract with your parents to clear this property. If they don't have ownership authority, this constitutes fraud. I finished. Yes, I'm aware. When I walked back into the dining room, they were dividing up Grandma's belongings on a shared spreadsheet. The hand-carved chess set goes to Michael, Sarah was saying. The vintage quilts to Mom. Stop, I said quietly. Dad looked up annoyed. Emma, we're trying to organize. I just spoke with Rocky Mountain Movers. They need proof of ownership. Mom's expression didn't change, but her hand tightened around her wine glass. That's just a formality. No, I said. It's insurance liability law. So I'm sending them the deed. The one that lists me as the sole owner. The one from Grandma's will that you never actually read. The room went silent. The kind of silence where you can hear ice melting in glasses. Sarah recovered first. That's not possible. It's family property. It's my property. Grandma left it to me. Only me. 4 years ago. Michael's face flushed. You've been letting us believe. I haven't been letting you believe anything, I said. You assumed. You never asked. You just decided to sell my house and split my money. Dad stood up. This is a family asset. Your grandmother would have wanted. She wanted me to have it. That's why she wrote a will. That's why she had her attorney file the deed transfer. That's why she specifically told me 3 weeks before she died, don't let them take your silence. Mom's voice went cold. You're being ungrateful. We raised you. You're selling my house without my permission, I said. That's called real estate fraud. The buyer's wire transfer is scheduled, Dad said. We have a contract. You can't just. I can absolutely just. The movers won't touch the property without ownership verification. The title company won't insure a sale without clear title. The buyer's attorney will discover during due diligence that you don't own what you're selling. And then things get interesting. Sarah was scrolling frantically through her phone. There has to be a way to. There isn't, I said. The buyer's already in escrow. You've accepted their $425,000 wire transfer deposit. You've represented yourselves as the legal owners. That's wire fraud. That's a federal crime. The color drained from Mom's face. I pulled out my phone and opened my email. Here's the deed. Filed with Boulder County 4 years ago. Here's Grandma's will. Here's the property tax bills, in my name paid by me for 4 years. Here's the homeowner's insurance. My policy, my premium. Here's the maintenance records, the utility bills, the HOA fees. All me. I looked at the spreadsheet on Dad's laptop at Grandma's belongings divided into neat columns. You were going to pocket $425,000 for property you don't own. You were going to steal my furniture, my grandmother's quilts, for years of my tax payments, my insurance premiums, my maintenance costs. You were going to commit federal wire fraud. And you were going to do it while calling me selfish. Michael stood up. This is a misunderstanding. We thought. You didn't think. You assumed you could take what wasn't yours. I forwarded the deed to the moving company. My phone dinged immediately. Rocky Mountain Movers confirms. Job cancelled. Your parents' deposit is forfeit per contract terms for fraudulent ownership claims. Another ding. Title company requesting emergency call. Buyer's attorney has questions. Another. Buyer's wire transfer placed on hold pending ownership verification. I watched my father's face change as his phone started ringing. Then Mom's. Then Sarah's. The buyer's attorney is probably calling you, I said. Title companies take fraud seriously. So do wire transfer banks. So does the FBI when it involves interstate commerce. Dad answered his phone, stepped away. I could hear his voice rising, then dropping, then cracking. Mom stared at me. You're going to destroy this family over a cabin? I'm going to stop you from committing federal crimes using my property, I said. There's a difference. Sarah was crying now. We already spent some of the money. I put a deposit on. That's your problem, I said. Dad came back, his face gray. The buyer's attorney is threatening to sue for misrepresentation. Their due diligence discovered the ownership discrepancy. They want their earnest money back plus damages. They're talking about fraud charges. Probably because you committed fraud, I said. Mom grabbed my arm. You have to fix this. Tell them it was a mistake. Tell them. I pulled away. I'm not telling them anything. You represented yourselves as owners of property you don't own. You accepted money under false pretenses. You hired movers to steal my belongings. You planned to pocket $425,000 that wasn't yours. These are the consequences. Over the next week, I watched it unfold with the detached interest of someone reading a case study. The buyer sued for fraud, misrepresentation, and breach of contract. Their attorney demanded return of the $42,500 earnest money plus $50,000 in damages, due diligence costs, attorney fees, lost opportunity costs. My parents couldn't return money they'd already spent. The title company filed a report with the State Real Estate Commission. The agent who'd listed the property faced a disciplinary hearing for failure to verify ownership. Her brokerage dropped her to avoid liability. The moving company submitted an insurance claim, documenting the attempted fraud. Their legal team sent a cease and desist letter threatening prosecution if my parents contacted them again. Sarah's deposit on her new car was forfeit. Michael's boat dealer demanded payment or repossession. Mom and Dad had to take out a second mortgage to cover the buyer's settlement. But the ghost ledger went deeper than money. 4 years of family dinners where they'd made jokes about, when we finally sell that cabin. 4 years of me sitting silent, letting them dream about money that wasn't theirs. 4 years of them treating me like the family freeloader while I paid every property bill, every tax assessment, every insurance premium. The cost wasn't the cabin. It was the truth. They never saw me as someone who could own anything worth taking. They saw me as the backdrop to their plans. Grandma knew. That's why she left it to me. The one who understands what silence sounds like. I understand it perfectly now. Sounds like a family dinner table where nobody asks you questions. Sounds like assumptions made about your success. Sounds like counting money that was never theirs to count. 3 months later, I'm sitting on the cabin's deck. The aspen trees are turning gold. My third novel is due to my publisher in 6 weeks. The advance is more than the cabin's worth, but they don't know that either. My phone has 67 unread messages from my family. Apologies, explanations, demands to work this out. I deleted them all. The buyer sued successfully. My parents settled for $92,500. Earnest money, damages, attorney fees. They'll be paying it off for years. The real estate agent lost her license for 6 months. The brokerage implemented new ownership verification protocols. My family lost something more valuable, the assumption that they could take what wasn't theirs. I'm having coffee tomorrow with Grandma's attorney, the one who executed her will. He told me she'd known exactly what she was doing. She said, Emma understands that silence isn't empty. It's full of everything they never asked about. He was right. They thought they were selling a cabin. They were actually selling proof of who they'd always been. And I finally have the silence I need to write.